All right, great people. Happy Saturday. Oh, it thunderstormed over here by me, and it's cool. I love storms. I love the rain, and thank God. Woke up this morning. Always thankful for that. And when I tell you, I just got into I love Saturdays because it's like I have that time and things and are quiet and it's peaceful, right? So I can actually concentrate on just whatever it is that comes to mind without a lot of noise. I don't like a lot of noise. So I do get up typically early in the morning because that's when things are really quiet. And hey, Tiffanie. Yes, I have such a treat for you guys. Um, she is beyond beyond my favorite, one of my favorite what I say preferred professionals. Hey, Tiffanie.
Hey, how are
How
you?
you doing?
Trying to figure out how to prop my phone up. It's been a while since I've done a live video on Instagram. Think I had.
Listen, it is always the trying to figure out this technology. It's so funny because, when I started back actually doing the lives on Instagram, right? Child, I had to find it again, all kinds of stuff, because I was like, they changed something on this screen. It's supposed to be the same. And of course, ain't nothing ever the same. So you know how that goes.
I do. I do. Let's see.
That is great. Good morning, good afternoon, depending upon what time zone you're in. I was just getting on and telling the people how I was about to tell them how I found you. And I just had to give a little bit of a background because, like most people, joined, like grew up, had Southern parents, raised in the North. We all grew up in church, and I was always that one that was like, there got to be something more. I was that inquisitive kid, like I just had to know other things. So I was really got attuned to astrology because, of course, when you're born, when your birthday is and all that. So I always knew my sign, and I just made it like a test for myself to figure out. It's almost like to this day I can almost figure out what somebody's sign is just because of how they are, how they interact, and all this other stuff. So like I said, as y'all know, grew up in New York, and one of my girlfriends that's in the Bronx told me about you. And let me tell you, people, I have never, like, we're usually always on the same page. So she was like, you got to go to Tiffany. You got to go to Tiffany because we were talking about some things. And I said, yep, I'm going to Tiffany. And now it's like years later. I don't even know how many years, but I'm just like, I can feel when it's time for me to get on her books. And it's like, I just needed people to know you along with the other part of the preferred professionals that I have. People, you got to understand, like, I am showing you and telling you and sharing with you the people that I use, because there's no one here that I don't use and patronize myself. And it's all for a reason. It's helping me be able to move within this thing that we call life. And as I progress from growing up, from high school to college, young adult, living, and then where I am in this space as far as wellness, you're still part of who it is that I always use, right? So I was like, ooh, this would be a great convo about astrology and wellness, because I don't think too many people even understand how astrology fits into their wellness, because most people think wellness, they automatically think food. And for me, it was everything. it was astrology, it was massage, it was spirituality, it was, you know, chiropractor, acupuncture, it was all of those things. And that's why I'm coming to the forefront and to the table for everyone to really have their minds open, and not only open but aware. Like let's put some like round table talks, I call them, onto the table and just say, okay, this is what this is. So Tiffanie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and like how you got started all in astrology?
Sure. Before we do that, do I need to share this video? Like, I don't know, or does it automatically pop up?
It should automatically pop.
Okay,
It's already there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay,
Because what I happen, we'll do what we do, and then once I hit our thing and then share it, it'll automatically just go
it
once
pop
we're
up. Okay.
done. But then, you know, people are being introduced that we're on live because, you know, I had to tell the world like I normally do. And so, you know, we see a few people on here this morning and this afternoon, again, depending upon what time zone you're in. So I'm really excited that you're here and that we're doing this. You have no idea.
Well, I've always been interested in astrology. Going back to your question, when I was younger, I used to, kind of like you, always guess people's sun signs. In
Mm-hmm.
college, I had a lot of the, I will say, pop astrology books and studied and so forth and learned how to create your own chart. Thank goodness now we have technology. You don't have to draw your own chart. You can just plug in the information and then the chart comes right out. And I went through a very dark period in my life in 2016, 2017, 2018. And in astrology, we call that the Sati Sati, which translates to the dark night of the soul. And it's a very specific
Mm-hmm.
that I would argue is perhaps the roughest transit, the most challenging transit, especially emotionally. You know, as you know, emotions impact our physical well-being because we are not disconnected from mind and soul. We're, you know,
Right.
it is one. And I just needed some answers. And I remember booking my first official astrology reading around that time. And I knew that she actually knew what she was talking about and she was spot on. Now, as an
Mm-hmm.
astrologer, I know why it was very easy to pinpoint what I was going through at the time. But that's how I got started. And so after that initial consult, I just began diving in. I began studying intensely, and I'm a Scorpio rising, so I tend to be very intense when I'm very
Mm-hmm.
focused. And began reading charts and just practicing and seeing how it can really transform folks' lives. A lot of times people are stuck in certain areas, and that stuckness can lead to, disease. They say disease
Mm-hmm.
is ease. And so you could be stuck in an unhealthy relationship, and that can take you out of here. You can be stuck in an unhealthy work environment, and that can take you out of here. They say the
That's
number one time people have heart attacks is like right before 9 a.m. on a Monday. There is no coincidence with that. And when we run an astrology chart, we can see all that. Like we
mm-hmm.
can see it in black and white. Of course, there's multiple interpretations, so that's why it is important to actually consult with a live human. I know they have a lot of neat technology, and I'm not, someone who opposes technology. I like technology so that it can make our lives simpler.
Right.
However, there's just so many interpretations, so it is important that you consult with a professional astrologer when it
Right.
comes to that. Kind of how
Right.
I do it. I was going through my dark night of the soul and got my first reading. Oftentimes, astrologers are the last house on the block, or so to speak, that people come to, and
Exactly.
that was true for me. you know, and I knew that this spiritual science was a language that more people should be familiar with. It's the language
Mm-hmm.
of the time, and it's right here if you're willing to learn and listen. So that's how I got started. And I could talk forever about that, but I'll let you proceed with your
But
questions. I know you're
like what? But that's why. I love like talking to you because on top of that, like there's so many people, unless they're already in tune to that. So don't get me wrong, you have a lot of people that's already in tune, and usually the people that are in tune, those be the main ones that you can't even find them. They are up underneath a rock. Like I just know my like journey, because as I was looking, I'm all the way to this point, but you're talking about years and years and years of seeking and trying to find and being around people and asking questions, or even divinely coming in connection with someone that like will lead you into the next person and then the next person. And so for me, I'm like, man, this took years to get to where I found my group, my circle of whom I need to go to, because so many people, what is it? They fear what they don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like by them not really knowing whom to go to, and I think that's a large part of the problem, especially right now, is people don't know whom to go to. Now we're in this world, and I'm with you. Like, I think it's good as far as technology, as long as you're using it for the good use. And we have so much overload with it. No one knows who to go to. No one knows who to, who to listen to. No one knows if the information is correct or proper. And, I want to be able to provide a place for people to come to say, okay, hey, a new you, like wellness, who do I go to for this? And who do I go to for that? Because it is more than just, okay, I wake up every day, and we know how we wake up, but it's so much more than just that. Like, one thing I can say, because like I said, guys, I've actually been with Tiffanie for some years now, and I love how she is so intuitive to everything when it comes to, and let me tell you, I wasn't ready, because when I had my first uh, appointment with Tiffanie, now listen, there's no excuse that you can't have one, because she sets the whole thing up, guys. Like, when I tell you, she had the full PowerPoint and everything, you won't be ready for your first appointment. All you can have to do is sit down, and you have some time afterwards, because you can't be in no rush. You need to sit down. And granted, I already came to the table with a little bit of knowledge, but I tell you what, like, she's great with explaining, helping you understand what's what. Tiffanie is extremely intentional, not only with like the appointments that I know you had with me, right? But just in how you move. Like, I could reach out to her and I'm like, hey, Tiffanie, I need an appointment. And she'll let me know quick. It ain't the right time.
Well, the thing is, with astrology, it's essentially it's also the study of the quality of time.
Uh-huh.
Mentioned growing up in the Bible Belt, and a lot of people were very afraid of astrology. And it actually used to be incorporated into various religions, and it may still be in some religions. They took it out of the Christian religion probably 400 years ago, but don't quote me on that,
Okay.
because astrology is incredibly empowering.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can be empowered, then you are less likely to just follow what the powers that be tell you to do. You
That's
know,
right.
need anarchy or anything like that. But I'm saying that sometimes we are doing things based off what society has told us we need to do, as opposed to what we know intuitively on a soul level that we need to do. And so, but I grew up in the Bible Belt. Y'all can hear my accent still. So I grew up in the Smoky Mountain area in East Tennessee. I live in Memphis now, other end, over in the Delta. But so there's a Bible verse I wanted to read if I could, which I think really corresponds and connects with the essence of astrology.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's probably probably like framed in 50% of folks' houses. I don't have it memorized, so I've got it written
Okay.
down. But it's from Ecclesiastes,
Mm-hmm.
Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very long, but you'll get the gist of it. But it's, for everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up.
Mm-hmm.
And just in general, we all have a purpose, but there are certain seasons when we need to be doing certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So some need to be planting seeds. I can look at someone's chart. Other professional astrologers can look at people's charts and see that.
Mm-hmm.
There are other when we need to be working hard. That's where I am now. You know, I'll be tired or whatever, but I know that's the season that I'm in. And I've got to gradually become more in the public eye.
Uh-huh.
You kind of, a lot of us are under a rock, and I sure definitely am, because I don't don't really advertise. I'm like, man, look, word of mouth. You better know somebody. Those that know, and they will find me.
That's
when
it.
the time is. But I'm just kind of in that season, and I will become more visible as time goes on. So this is a part of that. So thank you. Like, just naturally, this is a part of that. Getting back on social media lives, you know, because
Right.
and I haven't done one in forever. And then there's a time to harvest, to reap
Mm-hmm.
sown. Now, if
Right.
you didn't do the hard work when you were in that season, and you were like, you know, because who wants to work hard? Most people don't want to work hard, but
That's right.
they work hard. It
That's
just,
right.
and so if you were resistant to doing that hard work, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed with your harvest. And then following the harvest, we have what's called the letting go period, because you're essentially getting ready for a new time period in your life. And in order to step into your new time, you've got to let go of stuff.
Woo.
And I find that a lot of times when people come to me, that is usually what they're working on, is letting go. And I
Mm-hmm.
think all of my clients live here in the United States, so we are a Western country. And I think that in the West, as opposed to in the East, some of the Asian countries and so forth, as a society, we're always focused on more, more, more.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get more, and more is not always better. And I think we have a lot of hoarders in the US. Like, there are people that have lots of storage units. For what?
Right.
Like, why do you, like, I understand if you're transitioning to a new home, but there are people that have multiple homes, multiple storage units. Like, why are you holding on to all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I just think that also in the US, we have a problem with letting go of people.
Woo.
So not just things, so not just stuff, you know, like physical things, like I've got a cup here, some tea, but we have a problem letting go of people, and people are supposed to be in our lives for seasons.
That's it.
Some people are only supposed to be in our life for a second. They may give you a message that could potentially transform your
And
life.
that's it.
Some people are supposed to be in our lives
Mm-hmm.
for 20 years, whatever. But a lot of times we just get so attached and we hold on. And when we hold on to those things that we need to release, we can't receive the new blessings and the new seeds to plant for our next season. And so a lot of times I find that also corresponds with health issues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know we're supposed to be talking about health. And as we know, you know, health usually starts in the mind, like in the spirit. If your spirit is unsettled, energy gets trapped in your body in different places.
And go to the
You know,
physical.
and it's associated with, you know, even certain emotions are associated with different organs and things like that. And so usually disease, again, it begins with dis-ease,
Mm-hmm.
inability to process your emotions, and inability to let go of things that no longer serve you. And so that's how astrology can be incredibly helpful. You know, as an astrologer, I can't say that we follow it to a T, and a lot of people get dragged too. Like literally, we get dragged. You know, I knew in 2018, I'm wanting to say, that my past relationship was no longer for me.
Uh-huh.
But I got dragged out, and I got dragged
Right.
in 2021, into 2021. So, but you know, hey, forewarned is forearmed. You
Yeah.
know, here to share what we see in the chart and what we feel intuitively. You'll find that a lot of astrologers are very intuitive as well. Many have different psychic gifts, but we're always going to go back to the chart because the chart is the promise for this individual.
Right.
Hey, that's one of my friends. I saw she joined.
Yeah.
She's actually
I saw my cousin join. She over there. But it's just like, okay, folks, you heard it from somebody else, not just me. Because those people that know me, they probably tired of me, Tiffany. Like, I keep telling people, like, listen, you stay stuck. There's stuck energy. You know, I'm here to help to move some of that energy, whether it's, you know, spiritually or whether it's through, you know, just understand the emotion part of it. And I'm not anything, you know, no doctor, no nurse, no psychologist, psychologist, psychiatric, none of that. Okay. But I do know how those stuck energies really, really play a toll on your physical.
mm-hmm.
And we're going to everything and everybody. It's like all of a sudden it's so different than how I know you can tell it from when we grew up, right? Because what happened is one doctor we went to that I remember, we had everything done. That was a whole overall consensus of a physical, right? And this is the things that I'm talking about as that kid, always being inquisitive and seeking out information, seeking out the truth, right? And I was like, how is it that I went from that, not just me, but we as a society went from that, and I swear we can have a bump on our knee or wherever, you know, a knot, and we go to the doctor now for everything. And now that one doctor that we were seeing as a kid that could give you a real true physical because he was good at everything, now we go to specialized people. Now, I'm not against the doctors, but what I think people need to do is really go a little bit deeper, you know, versus just saying, okay, this is a solution, here's the doctor writing the pill or the medication, and then you off on your way, and then you come back. Like I used to do, even with supplements, I used to do this, just would, you know, dissolve it in water and just see
Mm-hmm.
how much that pill would dissolve. You know, I used to do that with almost all of what I was prescribed. And I'm not a pill popper, so everyone knows that too. But as I was seeking and seeking and seeking, and as I got more further with my education and training and, you know, certifications with wellness, I'm like, listen, you know, is so much more to that. You know, like you have the number one leader in deaths is the heart disease
Sure.
and heart problems, and you know, with between heart attacks and strokes and diabetes and all these things. And then I got even more and more and more inquisitive because I'm like, it has to be something else more to it. And of course, you know, I'm my own test dummy, right? Because I'm always in 5 million things, everyone knows that. But I just said it's time for me to really get out there, because this just didn't start yesterday.
Right.
This was a long, long journey getting up to this point. And then I said, any way that I can help people to become unstuck, because even like, for example, with knees, right? that has a lot to do with us not willing to move
Mhm.
forward. And the emotion tied with that is the pride and the ego.
Mhm.
And we don't even realize. And when I started learning and really starting to master the emotion tied with the physical, that's when I said, okay, I'm most definitely on to something, because if people knew more of what was tied to them emotionally, and like you said, not becoming, well, becoming stuck and not unsticking themselves, like let's move some energy, let's move some. And that's why I believe in you. I believe in Sharon, especially that when I go to massage, it's just not a massage. We're doing lymphatic, we're doing cupping, we have, and she's intentional what she does, because of, as you know, she does the spiritual work as well. These things help to move and shift the energy. And because I go to you regularly enough, because I can book an appointment, guys, and Tiffany be like, no, that ain't the right time. We're going to shift it to this time. But I have started, getting more and more in tune with what it is that I do. And especially here at a New You Wellness, because for me, it was custom blueprinting people, not just sending them out in the earth and say, okay, do this, because you had that little food chart when we was a kid, the little triangle, and half the stuff up there we don't even need to be eating, with the dairy and all of those
Oh,
things. And I'm like,
I guess sad chart, the sad diet, the standard American diet
there
is
you
not
go.
good. And just to kind of piggyback off of this conversation, you were talking about needing to go deep, and I agree with that. They say if you want to treat the fruit, you best look at the root of a
There you
tree. And
mm-hmm.
astrology can help you to do that. I mean, we can see things pretty quickly, whereas it might take a traditional, like, medical practitioner a while
Right.
to really see going on, because we can just see where the transits are. We can see where your progressed planets are. There's all these different techniques that a trained astrologer can utilize to really see what's going on. And I think that we are leaning towards more
Yeah.
precision
Yeah.
medicine, which I think is good. And that just means it's customized based on the individual, because as individuals, we are very different. We have different personalities. We
Mm-hmm.
have different body
Up.
comp. We have our DNA is totally different. We are genetically diverse. And so that means that one treatment may not work for me if it works for somebody else.
Right.
And we've got to move towards customization, and astrology can help with that. It can show you the type of diet you need to eat. And you mentioned heart disease and diabetes as being, some of the top killers in this country. And those are typically those are lifestyle diseases. They're related to lifestyle.
Every
Astrology,
day.
I can look at very specific areas, because we have 12 houses in a chart. I
Mm-hmm.
areas that are associated with your lifestyle and tell you what you need, based on your blueprint. You can either accept it or not, but a lot of times, people are just in the wrong environment, and that can cause disease. If you're, again, going back to what we said earlier, if you're in the wrong work environment, it can kill you. If you're in the wrong relationship, it can kill you. If your house even is not conducive for your unique energy, it can kill you. Think about it. When you go home, your home is supposed to be your place of rest and respite, so that you can get rejuvenated, right? But if you're in a type of home that's not in alignment with your energy, you can be walking into poison, essentially. And so you could be poisoning yourself during a time when you're supposed to be getting restored. We can see all that.
And then what
And
makes it even more beneficial
yeah.
is, like, I can't just go out here and be talking to just anybody about what it is that I do and all other services that's provided. Like, just that alone, when I say, oh yeah, I can do earth acupuncture. And then people immediately go straight to acupuncture with the body, but they're not paying attention to the earth part, because now you're talking about what exactly you're saying. The home, clearing the energy of the home, what was even maybe there before, what is during, just the whole process. Like, I just want people to actually have their minds like energized to say, oh, I didn't know that. I had no clue of that, because all of this plays a part. And I will be the one to say our environment, like you said, our lifestyle is the trigger. We all have that smoking gun, so to speak, right? But it's how we choose to be and live. That has a lot to do with probably 90% of it. And when that trigger, there is a downhill spiral, and that's the biggest problem that I see for what I do when I'm doing custom blueprints of what people need to be doing. That's where I'm at, because I want to be able to say, okay, I have this person, and Tiffanie, I'm spending her off over to Tiffanie, because Tiffanie needs to be able to do their natal chart, because people don't understand. You up here so busy with this doctor and their chart. Your chart is yourself. When you're born, your month, your day, your year, even down to the time, that is your own chart. And talk about more about that.
Yeah, it's the blueprint of, your soul's promise for this life. And that is everything. That's the physical, that's the mental, that's the spiritual, that is the very practical aspects, that's the relationship. It encompasses everything. And going back to what you said about environment, for those that don't know, I agree. I have a master's degree also in sociology. And so we always look at, the environment and society and how that impacts individuals. That's kind of our spin, versus psychology. They're more interested in the individual and how the individual impacts society. And so, I mean, there's that quote about a flower, and I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it says something to the effect: if a flower does not bloom, do you blame the flower, or do you transform the environment? That's kind of, if, like, would you plant a palm tree in, I don't know,
the desert,
in Alaska?
right?
I don't. And so we're similar to plants. I mean, we all need different things. We all need different types of foods. We all need different types of rest. We all need different types, even different amounts of sunlight. Some really, really, really depressed when fall and winter get here, and then others are like, yay, I'm so excited for the fall. We're all different.
That's it.
But yeah, the natal chart is the soul's promise. It's the blueprint of you. Like, I can see you, I can see your family in there, your mom, your dad, your anybody, your boss, see anything. And so, I mean, you just come and you have your questions and we can take it from there. But it's just really helpful. I think people need to be a little bit more self-aware. There's a lot of people running around just blaming everybody else for their problems, not willing to take ownership, and become self-aware and take action towards the destiny that they intuitively know they need to be, like, living. Like, usually intuitively people know they have a higher purpose, but what I find is they lack the courage to actually live it. And I agree with Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou said the most important quality that people should have is courage, because if they don't have the courage, they will not be consistent with anything else. So nothing else matters. So a lot of times people just lack the courage to live the life that they know they need to be living, and so they find themselves living somebody else's life, working at a job that they hate, you know, living in a house that they hate, eating food they know is toxic. I mean, it may taste good, but
That part.
when you go through the drive-through and you get that greasy bag, you know that it's not going to be like, better.
You know better.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of times people also just really want to be seen. And if I look at your chart, I'm not only looking at you, your physical shell, I'm looking at your soul. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I've seen some really challenging charts that have a lot of challenging aspects. But what I will say to that is some of the most successful people have the most challenging aspects. So that does not mean that you won't be successful. If I tell you that something looks a little bit challenging, this is a rough patch, it just means, that you're destined for something greater.
Right.
Because we do a world of duality. And I also want to caution people, if you connect with an astrologer or any sort of spiritual worker and they're all about love and light, just move on. Like, that's not reality. We have duality in this world, and not everything's going to be, rainbows and unicorns.
That's right.
So, somebody like that, like, please just move on. There's also been a lot of imposters, like hitting people up in the DMs.
Oh,
like me, like screenshots of people like trying to scare them and use their fear and say, hey, I had this dream about you. Hey, do you want a reading? Like, a professional person is never going to do that. So I don't want anybody to get scammed.
And I have to add on to that because, as soon as you said that, because you were talking about something before and it brought it to mind, because I had somebody DM me because and hey, Karima, hey, Michelle, like I said, the ones that know me know that I'm into a lot of different things. So, of course, with the astrology, right, as down to even palm reading or face reading or whatever, right? And this one person, I literally just got a DM the other day, Tiffany. I meant to tell you this because you would have been like, because I told Sharon and she was like, what? They were talking all this stuff. That's why you have to know whom to listen to and whom not to, like, just hop on the bandwagon with. And they were like reaching out to me, I guess because of this, page or whatever. And sure enough, after all their little spill, they said, let me know more about you. Just send me a picture of your palm. I was like, oh, really? This is what we're doing now? I was like, no, that I might as well just give you the time and place in which I was born, because I'm not doing that. But for someone that is not aware of all that really does when you're doing it, they'll just would have given it and wouldn't have thought anything about it if they're looking and seeking for other avenues or was inquisitive about it, but just didn't know where to go to.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to provide, is places for people to go to know really whom to go to, as opposed to just randomly, because we're consumers. That's all we are on this society, straight consumers. We're not doing anything else but just, oh, let me buy this, because we're not thinking. It is all like, we're not intentionally going and moving within this purpose, because society got us all swooped up to do this, do that. So, like, we can follow, not even ourselves, follow the leader.
Sure. Yeah, I think they tend to target people that are a bit curious.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they're newer in their journey, so they don't really, they're not sure.
Right.
And be very destructive because people are getting scammed out of a lot of money too.
Yep.
So if that's their first experience with someone that does astrology or does, I don't know, tarot or any form of energy work,
Yep.
then probably going to be turned away. So, I hope that everyone knows that professional folks are not going to DM you like that.
Right.
Usually you find your teacher when the
That's
time
right.
you find your teacher when the time is right. And I will say this, not everybody is for everybody.
You got that right. Right.
I have had requests for readings and I have looked at their chart and I
Mm-hmm.
are not someone that I need to work with. Um,
That's right.
I can refer them to someone else, but that's something else you can see in the chart, like what clients you're meant to work with. And I
That's
always
right.
want to make sure that people get what they need. And
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not going to be able to help them, I'll refer them to someone else who would be better suited just based on their own genetic code
Mm-hmm.
to so professionals will turn down business. Like if the time is not right and if the client is not right. So they will not be in your inbox begging you for reading.
And as they should, because you have to be so in tune with yourself and what you do professionally to know that I'm a firm believer not everybody is for you.
Right.
So you really have to know, because there's plenty of clients I've turned away because I'm like, nope, we're not here to have no time wasted. And some have come later because now they're at that point. They're at that point where they want to either seek more or do a little bit more than what they were doing. And they had to have their aha moment. Once they had their aha moment, that makes all the difference, because one thing I'm not going to do is force people to be like, okay, come over here, because people come when they're ready, but
Yes.
not everybody is for you. But I needed people to really understand how important astrology was as part of this whole wheel of wellness that I call wellness, and
Well,
what that
and one thing I forgot to mention, astrology used to be a part of the medical industry at large.
exactly.
Uh, I guess until the 1600s, maybe. There's a very amazing medical astrologer named Judith Hill, so she knows more about the history than me. But
Mm-hmm.
physicians had to be astrologers as well back in the day, because again, that would help them identify,
Yep.
like in black and white, the area that could be challenged.
That's
Um,
right.
we can still do that now, but they divided that, so that is no longer. And I mean, they made astrology illegal. I think astrology was illegal in this country in many states until like the 90s. Like you go,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, we've got to ask ourselves, why were they banning something like astrology? Well, it's because it's a form of empowerment, and people might start thinking for themselves as opposed to just accepting the dogmas that's handed down on a societal level. I'm not saying that all societal teachings are wrong.
Right.
You shouldn't accept anything at face value.
That's
But
it.
it used to be a part of the medical practice. They had to be well versed in astrology to practice medicine,
Mm-hmm.
which I
And
find very
and
interesting.
as you know, Tiffany, like I've been, a stylist for years. So there's a lot of tools that I'm using that an average stylist, they might not be using, because I've had my own clients look at me and be like, well, what's that? And do this and do that. Like, what are you actually using? And especially when I'm using my like UV lights and my UV like combs and pieces to be able to pull certain toxins to the surface. So then that way we can like work on that, but you also have to work on what you are putting within your body that creates the toxins, as well as what is your environment
Mhm.
and whom you're around and whom these people are to create these toxins. It's all part of the process, but it's also real. And we love to pay attention to what it is and what's happening, because everything is a fast-paced moment. So what I'm really working on is getting people to slow down, watch, think, listen, look, that whole kit and caboodle. So that way they just know how to move within their life present day. That's it.
Right. Got to get off the hamster wheel.
Got to.
Got to. Basically, you first have to get off the hamster wheel that society has you
That's
on, and then,
right.
and like you said, they've got to step back, and you got to get some self-awareness and reflect, and then you've got to create a lifestyle that helps you be more in alignment with the divine based on your unique wiring. And
That's
it's going to
right.
look different for different people. Some people need to get up extremely early and do something very, very active in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Other people need to be still. They need to meditate early in the morning. It just depends on the person. But the first step is to get off that hamster wheel. And I
And
think
right.
to a practitioner, they are at a point where they know they've got to get off.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get off, and they've got to start creating a life that serves them versus, destroys them.
Right.
Because a lot of times that's what's going on. I know a lot of people that have checked out early due to lifestyle diseases in their 30s and 40s. And, stress will kill you, but the stress is there to let you know that something is wrong in your environment. And sometimes you can't figure it out because you're so familiar with your environment
It's normal.
that it's your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But your zone will kill you too,
Yeah.
And that's why astrology is so beautiful, because oftentimes when we're stuck, we have what's called eclipse season, and it
Mm-hmm.
rolls around, and then it starts hitting some of your natal planets, and it'll make you get unstuck, and then we have, like for instance, the Uranus transits. Uranus is all about liberation. Right now it's the sign of Taurus. Everybody has Taurus in their birth chart somewhere. That's something else that a lot of people don't realize, because I have a lot of people say, oh, I can't stand Scorpios. Oh, I can't stand Geminis. Well, then that means you can't stand a part of yourself, because we all have every single sign in our chart. I mentioned there are 12 houses.
That's
well,
it.
Sign occupies a certain area in your chart. Yes, we have our sun sign, and it's very important. That's our vitality. Yes, we have our moon sign, and that's also very important. It's how we need to nourish ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Our ascendant, that's our physical body. Like, we need to know our ascendant, our rising sign, because that's literally our physical body. And what works for a Scorpio is not going to work for a Sagittarius.
That's right.
So, it's always interesting when people tell me they really don't like a sign. Oftentimes they have a whole lot of energy in that area. It could be their ascendant, or they could have some other planets like Mars or Venus or something like that. And really it's a form of self-hate. And so once they become aware that, hey, this is a part of me, like, let's bring this out and let's sit with this energy and let's familiarize with this energy, they stop suppressing a very, their very essence that needs to be heard. Every part of you needs a voice. Like every planet needs a voice, period. And they will either speak from a higher frequency or a lower level.
Mm-hmm.
It depends. If you're suppressing, then that energy is going to be very low level. I can give you an example. In astrology, certain planets like to be certain places more so than others. Mm-hmm. So Venus, which is the planet of love, of beauty, of partnerships and diplomacy, romance, loves to be in the sign of Pisces. So on a higher frequency, Pisces is about divine love, universal love. They literally look at you and they see your soul. It's associated with the Christ consciousness. You'll even notice the Christian symbolism is of like a fish.
Yep.
Well, look at the Pisces symbol. It's two fish. And
Yep.
in between the conscious dead. But on a lower level, and y'all, I have Venus in Pisces, so I'm talking about myself and, you know, whatever. But on a low level, Venus and Pisces can be overly self-sacrificing.
Mm-hmm.
They can sacrifice themselves too much in love. There could be addictions. That's another low level manifestation of that Pisces energy. They can be addicted to escapism and just binge watch too much TV instead of doing what they know they need to do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you to be finishing that book. Why are you being you know, I don't know, why are you binge watching Game of Thrones again? How, like, literally. So there are higher manifestations of energies and lower levels. And once you're self-aware, you can make sure that you're intentional to be more on that higher frequency.
And you said a couple things right there.
Because, you know, people are going to test you.
Oh.
You know, they're going to, and you know, sometimes you're going to come from a higher space, and sometimes I tell people, you know, if you go low, I can go to hell. So it just depends. But anyway, that's just an example. I'm kind of rambling now.
No, you're not rambling, because it all ties in. And so that's when, you know I'm a believer, because there's so many things that you said just now, which was huge. Just like how you said a job can take you out, a relationship can take you out. And then we're wondering why there's so many people that are like passing. I just had this conversation the other day with someone, because I've had a slew of deaths within the last almost 5 years. Like, it was like 100 plus. I think someone said, "You counted it?" I'm like, I got to, because they were all young, 38 to 57, maybe 10 of them were old. And just like this past week, I had a high school friend pass. She may be a year or two, maybe a year older than I am. Huh?
I said my deepest condolences.
Oh, thank
Sorry.
you. And it was like, it's just the fact that this exists. And I have another friend that was in the hospital for, internal bleeding. They didn't know what was going on. I mean, 4 surgeries, 8 days, young as well. Like, there's so much going on and happening. And it's so funny, because I'm sitting up here listening to what you're saying, but it still ties in, just worded in a different way, with what I'm saying to people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stop. You have to look, listen, feel. You know how many people don't want to be in the present moment, or can't be in the present moment? All I'm doing is providing a space so you understand a little bit better of who you are, because we're so busy following the leader with what we see all on social media, right? But then you don't know what it is you have to do, when you have to do it. You don't know any of those things, because you're not even paying attention to yourself well enough to even know who you are. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. Because then when you get back and you're like, oh, okay, now I got to do this and I got to do that. And a lot of the times we're rushing so much within our lifestyle and our day to day, that we don't even really know who we are, because who you are, or who you were at 13, is not the same person that you were at, or 23, at 33, at 43, at 53, at 63. Like, our bodies are always changing.
Mm-hmm.
And so are we. And that's the whole part of the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. I even added the financial practices into it, because it is encompassing all of it. It's just not one size fit all. And once people realize that they are really, truly unique, and we are made perfectly, it like you said, is the whole awareness of it, right? And just moving in an intentional space.
Sure. And I know we need to wrap up, but you just said something that triggered, my phone's gonna go dead. Yeah, I need a new iPhone, y'all.
Child, I didn't even know what time it was. We just
Yeah.
going. I'm Tiffany now.
You said media, and again, it's just technology can be used for the good or the bad. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of people are, I don't know, they're becoming more and more narcissistic from being on social media so much. And to be narcissistic is to take the responsibility, the personal responsibility for your own actions, your behavior, and for your own responsibility to create and get your own life together. And people always want to blame others, unfortunately. And like you said, follow people on social media. And there's so many people on social media that are not authentic. They're for your attention. Like, do you think this said you have to
Yep.
disconnect? Oh, okay.
We were talking about the social media and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think that the girls that are showing you media are really there to help you? No. Attention is really your greatest currency, your attention and your time.
There you go.
And so we're in Virgo season. Virgos like to get things in order. Virgos like to cut the fat, or so to speak, and get rid of stuff that's not working, that doesn't make sense. And so I invite everybody in closing to really take a look at how they're spending their time. Are you on social media mindlessly scrolling all the time and putting off something that you know you need to be doing? Whether you've got a business idea that you know you need to be working on, whether you know you need to update your resume so that you can land a new gig and get out of that toxic work environment. I just want to encourage you to embrace the energy of Virgo, plan it out, assess where you are now, and be honest with yourself. Like, be real, be raw, and take action. I want to encourage everybody. And before my phone dies, I just want to thank you, Cassandra, for inviting me to chat this morning. And I'm looking forward to your conference in October. I hope to see all of y'all there. There are virtual seats and in-person options.
Yes.
So you're going to hear from a lot of other practitioners, and I think it's going to be a really great sacred healing space. Such a wonderful opportunity. So I look forward to connecting with y'all there.
And this is why I had to have Tiffany
here. If you need me before then, I know Cassandra called me out because sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not doing readings right now.
Oh, she's quick to do that.
I'll tell you, no, it's not the right time. But I am doing readings now. So if you need to connect with me, you can add me here on IG. But my website is www.tdalchemy.com. And that's T as in Tiffany, D as in Denise, alchemy.com.
And if you guys want any more information, just in case, you can also go to my website, which is ANEU wellness.com. It has all the information on there about the conference. It also has all of our panelists, including Tiffany. There's a link on there that goes straight to her website as well. So we're continuing this conversation on a regular basis so more people can be in tuned and aware and open to all that's out there. So please follow, like, share. I'm telling you, Tiffany is it. I can't wait to this conference because we're going to be doing some things. And like you said, it is a sacred place for people to, if you have questions or not even concerns, not even doubt, but just you're inquisitive like I've always been in this life. Listen, it's a one time to be able to come out to join us to talk about this even more. So let's all come out. I'm thankful for you all coming. I'm thankful for you, Tiffanie. Like I said, I'm happy that I met you, but she's quick to be like, nah, you can't do that reading that chart right now, girl. There's something else going on. She'll tell you real quick. But yes, I'm happy. And then we will continue this conversation. And I'm going to let you go before your phone dies.
All right. Well, thank y'all again. Be well, and we'll chat again soon, Cassandra.
All right. Sounds good. Be well as well.
Bye.
Talk to you soon.